Imagine waking up, pouring your morning coffee, and just opening your analytics dashboard.
Right, your daily routine.
Exactly. But this time, you see that 61% of your organic web traffic has simply vanished overnight.
Ouch. Yeah, just gone.
Gone. And not because your site crashed or, because you were hit with some massive penalty, but because the fundamental architecture of how human beings find information has completely fractured.
It really has.
That is the stark, terrifying, and just completely real premise we are dealing with on this exact date, June 27, 2026.
Yeah, the data is undeniable at this point.
I mean, for decades, we had this very simple, unwritten contract with the internet, right? You type a question into a little white search box, the search engine hands you 10 blue links, and you do the work.
Right, you do the clicking, the reading, the synthesizing.
Exactly. We built entire trillion-dollar industries around fighting for the top spot on that list. But looking at the internal industry data that just dropped specifically for this date, June 27, 2026, that contract has basically been shredded.
Completely shredded. I mean, it represents the total decoupling of, finding an answer from actually visiting a website.
Yeah.
The landscape we are looking at in this June 2026 report isn't just some evolution of search engine optimization. It is an extinction event for the traditional digital economy as we knew it.
An extinction event. Wow.
Yeah, and it's the aggressive birth of generative engine optimization, or GEO.
Well, welcome to the deep dive. Our mission today is to pull you out of the wreckage of that old internet and equip you with the exact navigational charts you need for this new one.
Because you really need them right now.
You do. Whether you're a digital marketer trying to explain to a furious client why their traffic just flatlined, or a business owner staring at a collapsing sales funnel, or, just someone who's insanely curious about the invisible machinery of the web. We're going to unpack the mechanics of this shift.
And we have the perfect source material for it.
Yes, we are working off an incredibly dense, leaked internal stack of notes. It's the SEO Daily Technology Report, anchored specifically to this date, June 27, 2026. And the most glaring data point in this entire stack is what they are calling the death of the click. Okay, let's unpack this new Google AI mode. Because it's not just a cute little summary box at the top of the page anymore, is it?
No, far from it. I mean, the data shows that Google's deployment of their custom Gemini 2.5 variant has effectively swallowed the entire user interface.
Swallowed it whole.
Exactly. Historically, an AI overview might have been this brief kind of tentative paragraph sitting above the organic results. But on June 27, 2026, the interface is a full multi-turn conversational environment.
So it's not even a search engine anymore, really.
Right. It doesn't want to hand you a map to a library.
Yeah.
It wants to be the omniscient librarian that simply gives you the answer directly.
Yeah, and you just walk out of the library without checking out a single book.
Precisely. And the mathematical reality of this UX shift is just devastating for traditional publishers. When that AI overview triggers, the organic click-through rate plummets by that 61% figure you mentioned earlier.
Let's sit with that mechanism for a second, because I really want to understand the psychology driving it. I mean, if I'm searching for how to fix a leaky P-trap under my sink, the old behavior was to open 3 different plumbing blogs in new tabs.
Yeah. And skim the horrible pop-up ads.
Exactly. Battle the ads, find the materials list buried at the bottom, and piece together the instructions myself. The cognitive load was entirely on me.
100%.
But now, this Gemini 2.5 variant acts like a master plumber is just standing in my kitchen. It just tells me to grab a bucket and unscrew the slip knots. So, naturally, why would I ever click a link again?
Well, you wouldn't. And the telemetry in the report proves it. According to the internal metrics from this exact date, 75% of all AI mode sessions end without a single visit to an external domain.
75%. That is a massive chunk of the internet's traffic just evaporating into the AI.
Right. The user gets the synthesis, closes the tab, and just goes about their day.
Oh.
The traditional search funnel, where a user discovers a problem, searches, clicks to an informational blog, reads it, clicks an internal link, maybe subscribes to a newsletter that has utterly collapsed.
It's just gone.
Completely. The AI now performs that entire middle phase of exploration and synthesis internally.
Which means if your entire business model was built on monetizing that middle phase, like selling display ads to people reading your 2,000-word blog post on plumbing basics, your business model is mathematically obsolete as of June 2026.
It is. The traffic that actually remains is almost exclusively reserved for intense transactional intent. The exploration phase is monopolized by the large language model.
Wow.
However, we really have to look closely at the 25% of sessions that do result in a click, because the report highlights a fascinating behavioral anomaly here.
Oh, the silver lining.
Yeah, exactly. While total volume is drastically down, the brands that manage to get cited as a source within the AI's actual response are experiencing a 35% higher organic click-through rate compared to a traditional position 1 ranking in the old era.
Wait, 35% higher than the old #1 spot. Okay, so that's a massive trust transfer.
Massive.
Because in the old days, getting to position 1 just meant you satisfied a math equation of keywords and backlinks. Users still had to decide if they actually trusted your site once they clicked.
Right, they had to vet you.
Yeah, but now, if the AI says, here is how you fix the pipe, and I know this because Home Depot's technical manual says so, the user views Home Depot not just as a search result, but as the definitively vetted authority.
Exactly. The AI did the vetting for them. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the psychological friction is just gone.
Gone.
When a user clicks an AI citation in this June 2026 landscape, they aren't clicking to learn the basics anymore. They're clicking because they're ready to buy the part, hire the consultant, or, download the proprietary software.
They are already sold.
Right. The AI has framed your brand as the undisputed expert in the room. So the challenge is no longer optimizing your content to rank in a list of 10 links.
So what is the new mandate?
The new mandate is structuring your data so efficiently and proving your authority so unequivocally that a synthetic intelligence decides your insight is the only one worth quoting.
We are literally writing for synthetic brains, so those brains will advocate for us to human beings.
It sounds like sci-fi, but it's the reality of the data.
That is just a wild paradigm to wrap your head around. But, okay, if being the cited source is the new holy grail, like the new equivalent of ranking #1, how do we technically speak to these machines?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right, because for decades, the way we spoke to web crawlers was highly defensive. I'm putting myself in the shoes of a technical webmaster here. We had the robots.txt file.
Ah, yes, the old bouncer.
Exactly. It was essentially a digital bouncer standing at the door of our server, telling the Googlebot, do not go into the admin folders, keep out of the messy JavaScript files, only look at the clean public pages. It was all about blocking.
Very restrictive.
But this 2026 report introduces a completely new protocol called lmoms.txt, and it sounds like we're supposed to do the exact opposite.
It is the complete inverse of the traditional protocol. While robots.txt is a defensive barrier to prevent server overload from dumb crawlers, the elms.txt standard is a highly curated, offensive red carpet.
A red carpet.
Yeah. And the June 27, 2026 data shows it's already adopted by up to 15% of major domains.
Wait, I really need to challenge this logic for a second. The entire publishing industry has been panicking about AIs scraping their content without compensation, right? Stealing their intellectual property to train these giant models?
The very valid fear, absolutely.
Right. And now you're telling me the technical baseline for survival in 2026 is to voluntarily create a VIP file that hands over our best data on a silver platter. Why would I actively facilitate the machine that is actively eating my traffic?
I get it. The hesitation is completely rational emotionally, but it ignores the fundamental economic reality of 2026. Let's look at the computational physics of a large language model.
Okay, let's hear the physics.
Crawling the entire open web, parsing through terrible formatting, banner ads, and completely irrelevant sidebar widgets just to extract a single factual sentence. It is computationally expensive and incredibly noisy for an AI company.
So it costs them a lot of money to read bad websites.
Exactly. They hate doing it.
So they are looking for the path of least resistance.
Always. The elms.txt file, which sits right in the root directory of your website, acts as an executive summary for synthetic intelligence. You are explicitly telling the crawler, do not waste your compute cycles parsing my marketing fluff or my drop-down menus. Here is a clean, markdown formatted directory of my most authoritative, fact-checked, proprietary data.
Wow.
And if you refuse to provide this, out of fear or stubbornness, the AI won't struggle to read your messy site. It will simply ignore you entirely and cite your competitor who did provide an elms.txt file.
So invisibility is the literal cost of non-compliance.
100%.
So practically speaking, what does this file actually look like? Like if I'm building this today, what am I physically putting in it?
It's remarkably straightforward, actually, which is why its adoption is accelerating so fast right now.
Yeah.
It typically uses markdown language.
Okay, simple text formatting.
Right. It contains a brief summary of the domain's core expertise, followed by direct, clean links to specific high-value nodes. We're talking official documentation, empirical research, verified case studies, and structured data sets.
So no sales pages.
It deliberately excludes promotional landing pages. The AI doesn't want your sales pitch. And when you pair this VIP access file with an impeccably structured XML sitemap, you create an environment where the AI can ingest your proprietary knowledge with zero friction.
It's like curating a private museum tour for a billionaire investor.
That's a great way to put it.
You don't make them walk through the gift shop in the crowded lobby. You just take them through the back door directly to the Mona Lisa.
Exactly. You give them exactly what they came for.
So let's assume we've built this. We've rolled out the red carpet. The massive problem this report highlights next is, well, who exactly is walking down that carpet? Because the era of the Google monopoly is officially dead and buried.
Yeah, the fracturing of the search ecosystem is probably the most complex logistical challenge facing digital publishers right now. Single engine optimization is a total relic.
It's crazy to think about.
The telemetry from June 27, 2026 confirms that Google is hemorrhaging trackable referral traffic to a multipolar environment. We're talking ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, and of course their own Gemini ecosystem.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The report says optimizing exclusively for Google means you are missing up to 50% of all AI-driven discovery.
Half your audience gone.
That is a terrifying blind spot for any business. But here is where the mechanics get truly fascinating. It's not just that there are 4 different platforms. It's that each of these AI models has a distinct mathematically coded personality.
Yes, their own citation preferences.
Right. It's like prepping a candidate for 4 completely different job interviews. Let's break these down, starting with Perplexity, because they seem to be the most rigid of the bunch.
Oh, Perplexity functions as a strict academic research assistant. Its underlying architecture is obsessed with recency and verifiable authority.
So no fluff.
None. It does not tolerate vague generalizations. If you want to be cited by Perplexity, your data must be fresh, your claims have to be backed by hard numbers, and your structure must facilitate clear, distinct footnotes.
So if I'm a cybersecurity firm and I publish a vague thought leadership piece about, I don't know, the future of malware, Perplexity is going to toss it in the trash.
Oh, it won't even look twice at it.
But if I publish a clean, data-heavy report titled June 2026 Ransomware Attack Frequencies by Sector with clear tables and an elms.txt pointer, I am their best friend.
Precisely the distinction. Now, contrast that strict academic vibe with ChatGPT's primary optimization.
Okay, what does ChatGPT want?
ChatGPT is fundamentally conversational, but it heavily weighs the EAT framework. Experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness.
Right, the classic quality rater guidelines.
Exactly. It is constantly calculating the probability that the author has genuine, first-hand human experience with the topic.
Yeah.
It wants narrative depth, anecdotal validation, and a conversational tone that implies true mastery, not just a regurgitation of facts.
Oh, so it's the behavioral interviewer. Like when they say, tell me about a time you solved a complex problem. ChatGPT wants to cite the gritty, real-world case study.
Exactly. It wants the human element.
And then you have Claude. The report paints Claude as the philosopher of the group.
Yeah, Claude is unique. Claude's training weights heavily favor nuanced reasoning. It excels at parsing complex logic, counter-arguments, and ethical considerations.
So it likes the gray areas.
Yes. If your content merely presents a binary this is good, that is bad argument, Claude will bypass it in favor of a source that explores the nuances, acknowledges competing theories, and synthesizes a more mature conclusion.
So practically speaking, you can't just publish one generic article and pray it hits all these networks anymore.
No, the spray and pray method is dead.
If my audience is software developers who exclusively use Claude for deep coding theory, I need to write highly philosophical, deeply reasoned, technical content.
Yes.
But if my audience is day traders using Perplexity for real-time market data, I need rapid-fire, heavily cited numbers.
Exactly. You have to adapt to the engine.
But my main question is, how on earth do you track this? I mean, a year ago, I could log into a dashboard, see I was ranking number 3 on Google for best running shoes, and go to sleep. How do you track a brand's footprint across 4 distinct synthetic minds that generate unique answers for every single user?
Well, the industry had to invent an entirely new category of analytics to handle it.
I bet.
The report references the explosive growth of AI visibility tracking tools. Platforms like Trackings.ai, Athena HQ, and the Surfer AI tracker.
Okay, how do they work?
These systems operate fundamentally differently from legacy rank trackers. They do not check a static list of blue links, because those don't exist in the same way. Instead, they programmatically prompt these different LLMs thousands of times a day with variations of topical questions.
Thousands of times a day, wow.
Yeah, and then they use machine learning to analyze the AI's generated output, scanning for your brand mentions, and actually measuring the sentiment and context of those citations.
So instead of asking what position am I in, the software is asking ChatGPT, hey, who makes the best running shoes for a marathon? And then calculating what percentage of the time ChatGPT replies with, based on my analysis, Brooks is the leading brand.
Yes, exactly that.
You are tracking mind share, not rank.
Mindshare is the perfect term for it. You are monitoring your mathematical reputation across disparate neural networks. And that brings us to the core issue. How do you actually influence that reputation?
Right.
If we understand what these engines want psychologically, how do we prove to their algorithms that we possess those qualities? Because the 2026 data shows that the old levers we used to pull the metrics we obsessively manipulated for 15 years have completely stopped working.
Okay, let's get into the hard math of the 2026 algorithm, starting with the most shocking metric in this entire document.
I know exactly which one you're going to bring up.
The report states that brands are 6.5 times more likely to be cited through third-party sources than through their own proprietary domains. 6.5 times.
It's a staggering multiplier.
I need you to explain the mechanics of this, because if I'm a chief marketing officer and I just spent $1 million redesigning my corporate blog to capture traffic, you are essentially telling me I wasted my budget.
I mean, brutally speaking, yes. From the perspective of an LLM, a corporate blog is inherently contaminated by commercial bias.
Oh, yes. Okay.
The models are trained to prioritize objective reality over promotional messaging. If an AI needs to answer a query about the reliability of a specific enterprise software, citing the software company's own Why Choose Us page introduces unacceptable bias into the AI's response.
It's like asking a car salesman if the car is good.
Exactly. The algorithm inherently seeks mathematical consensus from independent entities. What's fascinating here is that it scours Reddit threads, deep dive reviews on platforms like G2, independent industry analyses, and mentions in major publications like Forbes or Wired.
So if I want the AI to recommend my software, writing about myself on my own site does almost nothing.
Almost zero impact on the recommendation phase.
I have to convince an independent journalist or a swarm of actual users on a forum to talk about my product. Public relations and SEO are no longer two different departments sitting on opposite sides of the office. In 2026, they are the exact same mechanism.
They are entirely merged. Your off-site authority footprint dictates your on-site visibility. But we should look at the on-site factors that do still matter, because the internal mechanisms of how crawlers actually read pages have undergone a violent shift too.
Right, the death of the technical trickery. I want to zero in on schema markup for a second, because the SEO industry built an entire microeconomy around this one thing.
Oh, millions of dollars were spent on it.
For the listener who might not be deep in the weeds on this, schema markup, specifically JSON-LD, was a way of manually writing code tags around the elements of your web page. You had to physically tell the Google bot, hey, this string of text here is a recipe cooking time, or this number is a product price, or this is a frequently asked question. We basically treated the crawler like a toddler that needed flashcards to understand the world. And the June 27, 2026 data says all of that labor is now mathematically useless for AI visibility. Zero measurable impact. So how does an AI know what the page is about if we don't tag it?
This goes back to understanding the difference between a legacy heuristic crawler and a transformer-based large language model. The old Googlebot was comparatively, functionally illiterate.
Illiterate.
Yeah, it could match keywords, sure, but it lacked contextual comprehension. It needed those schema tags as structural crutches to know what the numbers meant. An LLM, by definition, is a master of natural language processing.
And it actually reads.
It does not need a piece of code to identify a price. It comprehends the syntactic and semantic relationship of the numbers, the currency symbol, and the surrounding prose. When an LLM ingests a page, it reads the narrative. Schema markup is a redundancy that just wastes tokens.
The machine finally learned how to read, so we can stop pointing at pictures. That is a massive relief for content creators, honestly, but a devastating blow to technical SEO agencies that charge thousands of dollars a month just to maintain schema maps.
Yeah, those retainers are gone.
But there's another death mentioned here that feels even bigger. The death of top funnel content.
Oh, this is massive.
For years, the undisputed king of digital marketing was the What Is Guide. A bank would write a 3,000-word article titled, What is a Mortgage?, just to capture a user at the very beginning of their financial journey. Why is that specific type of content seeing the largest traffic drops in the history of the internet?
Because the AI possesses the sum total of human definitional knowledge natively within its weights.
Wow, natively within its weight.
Yes. It
That
does not need external validation to define a mortgage, explain the history of the Roman Empire, or outline the basic rules of chess. It can generate that top-funnel, definitional content infinitely, instantly, and accurately, entirely on its own.
So it doesn't need us for that.
It has no mathematical incentive to cite your marketing blog for a generic fact.
It's the librarian analogy again. The librarian already knows what a mortgage is. They don't need to hand you a dictionary. So if the AI owns the entire top of the funnel, what is left for the human publisher?
The bottom of the funnel.
Mm.
Empirical proof.
Okay, unpack that.
The AI can define a concept, absolutely, but it cannot generate a genuine lived human experience. It cannot invent a proprietary case study detailing how a specific factory reduced carbon emissions by 12% using a new widget.
Right, because it wasn't there.
Exactly. It cannot conduct a physical, real-world stress test on a new hiking boot. The AI needs human-created, heavily documented, bottom-funnel content to validate its synthetic advice with real-world proof.
That completely flips the content calendar upside down. You stop writing, what is a CRM, and you pour all your resources into how Company X increased retention by 40% using our CRM integration.
That is exactly the pivot you have to make.
And the formatting of this content has changed too, right? Because the report drops an incredibly specific number about where the AI pulls its citations from within a document.
The telemetry shows that 44.2% of all LLM citations are extracted from the first 30% of the content body.
Almost half the value is pulled from the top third of the page. This is the final nail in the coffin for the recipe blog format, isn't it?
Oh, 100%.
The old game was to write an emotional 2,000-word story about your grandmother's farmhouse, just to force the user to scroll past 10 different programmatic display ads before finally giving them the ingredients list at the very bottom. You're saying if you do that in 2026, the AI just bounces.
It is architectural suicide in a GEO environment. A large language model evaluates the density of value per token.
Density of value.
Right. If it enters a document and has to process thousands of words of narrative filler before encountering the core factual assertion or the proprietary data, it calculates that the document is highly inefficient.
And it leaves.
It will abandon our crawl and select a competitor who utilizes an inverted pyramid structure. You must front-load your most critical insights, your hardest data, and your definitive conclusions right into the immediate introduction. The depth and the narrative can follow, but the thesis must be immediate.
So to survive June 2026, we have to build elms.txt files, secure off-site PR mentions on massive third-party platforms, abandon top-funnel fluff, write deeply empirical bottom-funnel case studies, format them in an inverted pyramid, and track our reputation across 4 different AIs that all have completely different philosophical standards.
That's a lot, I know.
Doing this with a spreadsheet and a gut feeling is just impossible. The cognitive load on a marketing team would break them. Which brings us to the operational reality. You have to buy the right tools to augment your own workflow.
The software ecosystem has radically consolidated and evolved to meet these specific mathematical demands. The platforms that dominate the June 27, 2026 report are not merely tracking tools anymore, they are interpretive engines.
Let's dissect the mechanisms of these tools. Forget the subscription tiers and the marketing copy for a second. I want to understand how they are actually solving these GEO problems. Let's start with the one that seems most specifically built for this exact crisis, EE-Clean. How does a piece of software mathematically measure human trust and quote-unquote staleness?
EE-Clean operates on the premise that an AI crawler judges trust through temporal relevance and semantic density.
Okay, temporal relevance, time.
Exactly. It crawls your entire domain architecture and compares the factual assertions within your content against a real-time database of current world state knowledge.
Oh, wow.
So, if your 2026 guide to SEO still heavily references manual schema markup or Google's old PageRank algorithms, EE-Clean flags the content as mathematically stale. It quantifies the risk that an AI model will view your domain as an unreliable narrator.
So it's actively hunting for the outdated statistics that will cause perplexity to reject you. That is a brilliant defense mechanism. It's also utilizing a pruning module, right? Tell me how the pruning logic works, especially for those highly sensitive your money, your life topics.
The pruning module analyzes historical engagement, current citation velocity, and topical relevance. It doesn't just say, hey, this page is old. It calculates the drag coefficient.
The drag coefficient, like aerodynamic drag.
Yes. It will explicitly advise a financial institution, look, this 2021 article on interest rates is not just useless, its presence on your server is actively degrading your overall domain authority score in the eyes of ChatGPT.
So it's pulling the whole site down.
Right. And it will say delete it, redirect it, or rewrite it entirely.
Yeah.
It automates the digital hygiene required to maintain a pristine strems.txt reputation.
That makes perfect sense.
Right.
Now let's look at the content creation phase. Surfer SEO has been around for a long time, but it clearly didn't die with the blue links. How have they adapted to a world where keywords matter less than semantic context?
Surfer survived by deeply integrating natural language processing analysis with real-time AI tracking. In the past, Surfer would tell you to include the phrase, best running shoes, 14 times to satisfy a dumb crawler.
We all remember doing that.
Yeah. But in 2026, their NLP editor measures semantic completeness. It ensures you are discussing the required subtopics like arch support, pronation, material durability that an LLM mathematically associates with a comprehensive answer. But the true innovation is their AI tracker overlay.
Right, because writing the content in a vacuum is useless. How does the tracker interact with the actual writing process?
As you build a content cluster, Surfer is pinging ChatGPT and Perplexity in the background, measuring the footprint of your brand within those specific semantic entities.
Wow, in real time.
Yes. Their topical map feature visualizes your mathematical authority. It might reveal that the AI models already highly trust your domain when discussing marathon pacing strategies, but consider you entirely irrelevant when discussing trail running nutrition.
So it tells you where your lane is.
Exactly. This prevents you from wasting resources trying to rank for concepts where the AI simply refuses to cite you.
It directs your editorial calendar based on algorithmic permission. That is wild. Now, what about the massive all-in-one command centers? SEMrush One is highlighted in the report as the enterprise solution, running about $119.95 a month for the Pro tier. What is their primary mechanism for handling this multi-engine reality?
SEMrush recognized that the sheer volume of data generated by multi-engine tracking is just paralyzing for human analysts. Their solution was the AI Copilot. It is an internal generative layer sitting right on top of their raw data pipeline.
So it's an AI interpreting the AI data. How does that practically work for a user?
Well, instead of forcing a marketing manager to export a spreadsheet of thousands of tracking prompts and manually hunt for anomalies, the SEMrush Copilot autonomously monitors the data streams. When it detects a shift, it generates a natural language strategic directive.
It just tells you what to do.
Literally. It will alert a user. Your citation rate on Claude for queries related to cloud security protocols has dropped by 12% in the last 48 hours, concurrently with a competitor publishing a new empirical study.
Oh, man.
And then it says, you must immediately update your core documentation with fresh 2026 compliance data to regain mindshare. It completely bridges the gap between data collection and strategic execution.
It's acting as an autonomous strategist. That is both incredible and slightly terrifying for anyone whose job was just building those spreadsheets.
It changes the job for sure.
Let's pivot to the offsite equation, because we established earlier that 6.5 times out of 10, the AI is looking at third parties for trust. The report points to Ahrefs as the critical tool for this, coming in around $99 a month for the elite tier. But Ahrefs built its empire on tracking traditional backlinks. How does link tracking apply to an AI citation environment?
Because the underlying physics of authority haven't changed. Only the reader has.
Okay, explain that.
Ahrefs possesses one of the most aggressive, rapid updating crawler networks outside of Google itself, updating its index every 15 to 30 minutes.
That's incredibly fast.
It is. In the GEO era, an unlinked brand mention in a high-authority Forbes article is mathematically equivalent to a traditional hyperlinked backlink. Ahrefs uses AI-assisted anomaly detection to monitor this massive, chaotic web of mentions in near real time.
Give me a scenario where that 15-minute anomaly detection actually saves a brand.
Imagine a malicious actor launches a negative PR campaign against a competitor, planting dozens of fabricated negative reviews about your product on obscure forums.
A nightmare scenario.
Right. A traditional index might take weeks to catch that. By that time, Perplexity and ChatGPT have already ingested the negative consensus and are proactively warning users not to buy your software.
The damage is done.
But Ahrefs detects the artificial spike in negative semantic sentiment instantly. allowing a brand to deploy a counter strategy like publishing verifiable data or reaching out to major publications before the AI models permanently bake the false narrative into their weights.
It is a real-time reputation defense system. Now, for the independent contractors, the solo freelancers who are trying to manage all of this without a massive enterprise budget, the report highlights SE rankings, specifically their core plan at $129 a month. What makes them the Swiss Army knife of this specific moment in time?
SE Rankings architecture is uniquely optimized for the transitional reality of June 2026. Because we are not entirely in a zero-click world yet, right? There is still a residual ecosystem of traditional search behavior out there.
True, people are still using it the old way to some extent.
Exactly. SE Ranking provides a dual search tracking environment. It allows a single operator to simultaneously monitor a client's legacy position in traditional search results while cross-referencing their brand citation rate across the AI engines.
So you get both dashboards.
Yes, and without the prohibitive cost of enterprise platforms. It acknowledges that businesses currently have one foot in the past and one foot in the future.
They are the bridge tool for the transition. I love that. And finally, we have to talk about the granddaddy of technical audits, Screaming Frog. It's a desktop application, runs about $290 a year, and honestly, it looks like a spreadsheet from the 1990s.
It really does.
But it is still absolutely vital. Why do we still need a localized crawler if everything is about offsite PR and natural language?
Because if the foundational architecture of your server prevents the AI crawler from efficiently reaching your elms.txt file or your core content, none of your offsite PR matters. You're invisible.
You're just blocking the door.
Exactly. Screaming Frog remains essential for diagnosing the physical health of the crawl. The most critical application in 2026 relates to how sites render code, specifically JavaScript.
This is a huge point. Break down the JavaScript problem for the listener because it perfectly illustrates the tension between human web design and AI crawlers.
Consider a modern, highly interactive website built on JavaScript frameworks. To a human, it looks beautiful and dynamic. Things swoosh in, menus pop out.
It feels premium.
Right, but to a crawler, JavaScript is essentially a complex pop-up book. The crawler cannot just scan the text. It has to spend computational energy to virtually pull the tabs, render the code, and construct the page before it can even read the content.
And as we established earlier, AI companies hate spending computational energy.
Exactly. It is a massive drain on resources. If your site forces the AI to render heavy JavaScript just to find a paragraph of text, the AI will frequently time out or abandon the crawl entirely.
It just gives up.
Screaming Frog identifies these rendering bottlenecks. Furthermore, its 2026 AI integration doesn't just list the errors, it calculates the ROI of the technical debt.
Wait, it calculates the financial cost.
Yes, it will tell a development team, this specific JavaScript blockage is causing you access to Google's Gemini crawler, which historically provided 20% of your high-intent traffic. It translates esoteric technical errors into board-level financial consequences.
What a brilliant synthesis of the tool stack. We aren't abandoning the past completely. I mean, we're still crawling the architecture and monitoring the links, but we are layering on tools that measure human trust, calculate semantic relevance, and autonomously interpret AI behavior. The game has simply moved to a much higher level of abstraction.
It really has.
Well,
We have transitioned from manipulating a dumb algorithm with brute force tactics to genuinely curating high-fidelity, empirically verifiable information for synthetic intelligence. The standards are just objectively higher now.
So let's pull all of these threads together. We have reviewed a mountain of data from the June 27th, 2026 report today. We've examined the devastating 61% drop in clicks and the reality that 3/4 of users never leave the search engine interface.
Massive shifts.
We've explored the fractured multi-engine reality where you have to simultaneously impress the strict academic standards of Perplexity and the philosophical nuance of Claude. We've eulogized the death of schema markup and the extinction of the top funnel what is article.
Oh, may they rest in peace.
Right. And we've laid out the blueprint for survival, the elms.txt red carpet, the absolute necessity of off-site PR consensus, and the inverted pyramid of empirical bottom funnel content.
It requires a fundamental restructuring of how an organization views its own knowledge base. You are no longer a publisher trying to capture eyeballs. You are a proprietary data node trying to be cited by the central intelligence.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener, as you log off and get back to work today? It means the era of the SEO hack is over. You cannot trick a large language model with a hidden keyword or a clever bit of code.
Those days are done.
Your time, your budget, and your intellectual energy must be aggressively reallocated toward producing undeniable, real-world proof of your expertise. You have to document your case studies. You have to conduct original research. You have to be the definitive, undeniable authority that the AI mathematically must cite to remain accurate.
But as we close this analysis of the June 27, 2026 data, there is a massive looming macroeconomic question that this entire shift forces us to confront. It is the elephant in the room that the digital marketing industry is frankly terrified to acknowledge.
Well, let's hear it.
If the underlying physics of this new reality dictate that 75% of informational searches end without a click, and if the AI engines are ruthlessly filtering out the noise to only cite the most premium, bottom funnel, highly authoritative corporate content, what happens to the rest of the ecosystem?
The rest of the internet.
Yeah, for 2 decades, the open web was funded by a delicate ecosystem of display ads running on independent blogs, recipe sites, tech troubleshooting forums, and hobbyist wikis.
Right, the mom and pop shops of the web.
If the AI steals the exploration phase, those billions of top funnel page views disappear. If the page views disappear, the ad revenue goes to zero. So the question is, are we currently looking at the silent, algorithmic collapse of the open independent web? Or are we merely witnessing the painful birth of a much smaller, highly specialized premium internet where only the absolute best survive?
That is a chilling thought and honestly the perfect concept for you to wrestle with as you audit your own strategies this week. The internet you grew up with is gone and the rules of the new one are being written right now. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the 2026-06-27 intelligence. We'll leave you to ponder that final question. Until next time.